All right, guys. My goal is to try to make sure that we have as much time as possible for you to ask questions. So I'm gonna try to get through my portion of the two demos as quickly as possible. So quick update. This is gonna be a little bit different than what you read in the description. My plan was to initially walk you through two different exercises of how to use ChatGPT's data analysis feature, which is a really, really useful feature for anybody working in product. But we've had a really big week, 2 weeks now in OpenAI AI land. I'm sure you guys have heard about Dev Day last week. It made a ton of noise, all the new changes that OpenAI introduced. So what I'm going to do is take the second half and show you a quick demo of how to build the GPTs. I think that's really useful for you all to kind of get immersed with, and I'll explain exactly why, okay? So can everybody see my screen? Can I get quick hands up? Make sure everybody can see it. Awesome. All right, cool. So we'll start with a little data analysis demo here, and we'll go from there. So data analysis, quick show of hands. I've only got a couple of people with cameras on, but I want to get a sense of how many people are familiar with data analysis. Do you know that ChatGPT has this feature? Okay, great. So it's an incredibly useful feature. I think for anybody working a product, this could save you days of work. I vividly remember spending literally days and hours trying to do this myself in the past at Push and also at Whoop. So this feature is incredibly handy because you can upload any kind of files into it and you can just chat with the data. So instead of trying to take this giant CSV file and trying to visualize it a million different ways, or try to dig in and try to deduce kind of conclusions from it, you can just ask ChatGPT. ChatGPT will actually run code on it, so you don't have to worry about the hallucination problem. You'll actually be very grounded in the data, and you'll be able to get some really good results out. So I'm going to show you a quick demo here of something that every product manager is very familiar with, looking and doing sentiment analysis on App Store reviews, right? Especially as your company grows, you end up with hundreds of reviews that come your way, and it's often challenging to figure out what are the crowd in aggregate asking for? What are your customers in aggregate asking for? What's the overall sentiment? So this is something that's incredibly useful. It's very easy for you to pull this data, by the way, on App Store at Apple or on Android, Google Play. It's very simple for you to be able to pull those and export them into CSV. And then once you have them in a CSV, this is where ChatGPT comes in really handy. So I'm going to upload two files in to show you this demo. And I'm going to have a little fun with this one. I actually not going to just upload one company. We'll upload two. And maybe we can have a little bit of back and forth. And I'm going to upload two that are kind of near and dear to my heart here. So Aura app reviews and Whoop app reviews. Let's see what those two can potentially help us deduce. So I quickly picked those two CSV files. I uploaded them in. And now I'm going to load them. I'm going to say, can you analyze these files and let me know what they are? So I find this to be a really good grounding question to start off with, because you're not simply jumping into asking ChatGPT questions about the file. You're giving it a chance to process the files, understand what's inside of them. And then from there, you can start asking a little bit more questions. So step one, just quickly analyze these files, read them, let me know what you think they are. So this is what's happening right now. You can see here it's analyzing. So I really like this new UI feature they introduced last week, where you can actually it used to just constantly display it. Now it's hidden and it can kind of show you a little progress on what's happening. So it did that. Now it's processing it, telling us what's inside of it. So I did Aura on Whoop on Android Play. So this is a little bit skewed towards the Android user data, but I find it's actually really helpful when you're in product, especially if you're on Android and iOS, to just treat them a little bit separately and then do an aggregate analysis, because you'll often find that reviews are quite different on both. People have just different attitudes on those two different platforms. They have different experiences based on the devices. So it's very important to kind of keep them separate. So now it's finished processing Aura. It kind of figured out what's inside of it. So we're not, I think the most relevant pieces of data here for us is not username, review ID. It's really content and score. Those are probably the three here, the thumbs up, that makes the most sense. Obviously, date is also helpful. So we'll make sure that we ask questions that are relevant to that. So. Okay. So you can always, by the way, the beauty of ChatGPT is you can kind of tell it the direction you want to go and then have it produce suggestions of where to take it even further. But for now, let's just start with a very simple question that I used to always think about, right? What are the can you summarize the features let's say for present that Whoop and or customers users are asking for? So it's going to dig through this and we'll see. I love these live demos because sometimes it plays nice and sometimes it doesn't. So we'll see what the response looks like and then we'll figure it out from there. So it's figuring out what it needs to do. It needs to process the text, it needs to extract keywords, and then it needs to categorize them. So again, this is the kind of thing that I remember using word cloud software for. But the challenge with word cloud software is you end up with a lot of junky words that don't tell you a whole lot. When you do it and you start seeing, like, for example, Apple pops up or other words, but it's hard to actually really get a sense of it. With this, you can have a couple of back and forth. The key thing that, by the way, I often see product managers stumble with is, and generally ChatGPT users, is they ask a question, they don't get the response they like, and they kind of just walk away from it. I highly recommend that you give it a shot at just being a little bit more patient and asking a couple of questions back and forth to see so if it doesn't give you the right response, just give it a minute and see if you could try something else here. So these are the key analysis of Aura app reviews. Heart rate, sleep tracking, battery life. I can definitely get it to dig into a couple of those more specifically. And now it's going to do Whoop. So it seems like just kind of right off the top of the head, you can kind of see here, bugginess, for example, pops up in both cases. There's a number of mentions of that. We can drill deep into that. We can see if sleep tracking is what people care about. We can kind of ask a couple more questions around what this looks like. Can you plot the storage outside? This is the other really cool feature is you can actually plot data very easily. So instead of having to, I know it's somewhat simple to do this in Google Sheets, but this is even faster. You can literally, while you're having this discussion, quickly just get it to plot the data for you. And again, the nice thing is I didn't have to, when Google Sheets, sometimes you have to change the format of the column and so on and so on. Here, it just intuitively figures out from the name of the actual columns in the CSV what they actually mean, and then it formats them the way it needs to. So this will be the last part of this. Honestly, we could spend hours just on this specific use case, but I think again, I really want to make sure I take a couple of minutes to show you guys what's super exciting that OpenAI just announced last week. It's really it's a pretty radical shift in where they want to go and how we can use them as well as products. So you can kind of see here, this is not as clean as I would like it to be. So I can definitely spend a couple of questions to get it to massage the data a little bit more, average it, make it look less noisy, stretch out the data, maybe skip some sections. But you kind of, in general, you kind of very quickly see here how you could evolve. And I can already tell there is a bit of a trend here. So it seems like Whoop at some point in 2019 had a kind of a higher review status than Aura. And then you kind of see Aura taking over a little bit. And it seems like they're starting to bounce back here towards the end. So there's already some very easy insights that I can pull from the data here. So this is the example data analysis. If you're not using it, I highly recommend you use it. There's a ton of other use cases as well that I can go through. But for now, again, I want to make sure you guys are all up to speed with the latest and greatest here. So let's switch over to GPTs. Quick just show of hands here. Who's heard of GPTs or saw some summaries from last week's announcements? Okay, great. So we're 50-50. So here's what OpenAI announced last week. They had a big dev day. It's kind of like their Apple keynote. And they announced a whole bunch of new changes. So the major change that's relevant for you all to kind of acknowledge and appreciate is they're switching over from this concept of plugins, which you might have heard of. They still have it in the app, but it's definitely orphaned. I would not invest time into building plugins at this point. The plugins feature was meant to be you as a developer or a company could expose some endpoints from your software or product into ChatGPT. You build a plugin and the users could basically select to enable the plugin and then utilize it. Sam Altman actually a few months ago acknowledged that they didn't find product market fit with that use case. I personally used it a number of times. I did not find that it's as sticky as the rest of the experience. And the experience just simply wasn't up to snuff, whether you use Expedia plugin or other plugins. What they've shifted now, it's a completely radical new reimagining of how this is going to work. They've basically moved away from this concept of a ChatGPT into what they're calling GPTs. I know at some point they need to, I think, really work on their marketing here. I'm not sure how sticky GPTs is, but the technology is so good, we're all willing to put up with the name. So the way GPT is going to work is you as a user or as a company can build a GPT. Effectively, what that means is you can take the language model, GPT-4, or whichever, you can also go to 3.5 if you'd like. And then you can basically feed it specific amounts of knowledge through PDFs or EPUBs. You can create what you want it to look like. You can customize the icon. You can then also, this is a really exciting part, is you can map out from your API or any type of other publicly available APIs, you can map out actions for this bot that they're able to do and interact with. And then based on that, you can publish it. Right out the gate, it's published to you privately, but you can have it so that it's public and publicly available via link or publicly available to everybody. And what Sam Altman and the team at OpenAI basically announced last week is that they're planning to make this public to everybody, and they're planning to build a marketplace. So I wouldn't be surprised over the next 6 months if we start seeing this app store-like experience where creators can create bots trained on different types of data, funny, serious, helpful, with all kinds of different expertise, and people will be able to use them, and then you'll be able to get compensated as a creator in one way or another. Now, the more important part, if you are working in a product technology company, is this entire functionality of assistance is actually going to be available via API. What that basically means is that now you don't have to worry about, without getting too much into the weeds, into building a vector database or having to set up your own type of knowledge database for it to pull from, or have to spend a ton of time creating long-term context or write all these API codes in your own code base. You could literally just use an assistance API and feed it all the information you want in advance, and it'll basically do all that for you within the app. So OpenAI is turning into kind of an end-to-end solution here that you can simply plug into your product. So it's extremely powerful, saves you a ton of time. Take it from somebody who spent the summer kind of hacking away in this stuff. This is a dramatic step up and would have saved me weeks of development. So anyways, I'll stop there and actually show you a live demo of what this looks like. I know we're running a little bit of time. I want to make sure you guys have questions, time to ask. So I'm going to do a little fun, quick demo. I literally whipped up in 15 minutes just before this call. So we'll go through it quickly here. So here's what I did. I'm going to walk you through the steps. So I went on Google and I basically just searched quickly for publicly available APIs, just because I wanted something fun, right? And the stock market is fairly simple. This is a GitHub repo. You can easily find it. That has a bunch of free APIs that you can tap into. They have a whole bunch on the stock market. I picked one that's funny. It's a Wall Street Bets API. So this API, you can basically call it at any point and get the top 50 stocks that are being discussed on Wall Street Bets, the infamous subreddit channel with all the crazy stock trading that happens on the retail side. And basically, it does a sentiment analysis for you. It gives you a score. It gives you the ticker and the number of comments on it, right? So I took that, and then here's what I did. I went over to ChatGPT without going to, it's very simple for you to kind of navigate to this page, and there's lots of online demos of how to do it. You can basically pick between create, where you can literally just chat with it and get it to create the bot for you, or you can configure it manually. I did the manual configuration. So what I did is I named my bot, I clicked here, and I just used DALL-E to create a little icon image for it, put a little simple description, tell me what Wall Street Bets on Reddit are talking about. And then I got it some conversation starters. So what's going to Moon? I thought it'd be kind of the appropriate one. I had found an online PDF, free PDF copy of Michael Lewis's Flash Boys, which is a really fun, sarcastic look at the Wall Street kind of world. I loaded that into the knowledge section here. So it's able to actually store it as a knowledge source. You can enable or disable different capabilities here, web browsing, DALL-E. In all honesty, we probably don't need DALL-E, so I would disable that, right? That's not a big deal. And then you can have web browsing code interpreter. And here's the most important part. I went to actions, and this could get a little bit technical, so definitely feel free to reach out if you have any questions. But you could basically pull in what's called a schema. You can use it using an import from URL, but you can basically just get that API here over to here, and then automatically it shows you what the available auctions are in this API. So it knows that this API is capable of, if I basically ChatGPT now understands, if I make this call, get Reddit stocks, I'm going to get exactly what this API is able to provide, right? In this case, it's a free and open one, so there's no authentication needed. And that's it. Now it's ready to go. So now I can go into here. This is good to go. I can save it. Only me for now. Only people, well, I'll make it only people with a link for now. Valid privacy. So I need to quickly update my privacy here. Wonder if I can just put none. I'm actually, nope, no, it really wants one. So let's just go with only me for now, and then I'll change that policy. So now it's going to be available to me. I can go in here. I've got Wall Street Bets, and I can chat with it. Wall Street Bets. There we go. So now I can ask it questions, and basically it's going to be able to do it. So I'm going to ask, can you give me a summary? Which stocks are popular on Wise? Let's see if this is able to pull this off. So I tried this and I noticed something. And the nice thing about this is very easy to debug. It'll actually tell you, it'll show you exactly. So for example, in this case, it tried to pull up. So it's showing me here that it tried to pass a date, and I was debugging this just before the call. I didn't get it quite working yet, but basically it's trying to pass a date. The API doesn't really respond to that well. So I'm going to say, what are the top stocks on WSB? So if I do this, let's see if this works. If it doesn't, I have one less keyword that I tried that worked well. The key is I basically don't want it to pass a date. Here we go. Perfect. So this is probably something that's a little bit off with this API right now. If you try to make this call, I tried to make it outside. It doesn't really like having dates. It's not returning anything, but as long as you don't pass a date, it's able to do it really well. So now it's pulled the top few stocks here. So now, and remember, I trained it on Michael Lewis's. So can you summarize these stocks in the style of Michael Lewis? And now you're going to see immediately what it'll do. So it's able now to pull from Michael Lewis's book, the style that he uses, which is really funny. It's able to basically create a quick summary here. This is a very basic demo of what you're able to do with GPTs, but I wanted to make sure that I kind of show you guys two important things. You're able to show knowledge, and you're able to share specific files, knowledge, because these could be private files if you want, if you've done your own, if you've got your own blog, for example, or if you've got your own content, or if you've got a product with a crazy knowledge base, you can load it in there. And then you can also have actions, which is an incredibly powerful way for you to interact. And you saw this, again, it took me 15 minutes. You know, if I spend another hour refining it, this could be ready for prime time. So super exciting time, honestly, in the age of AI. I can't wait to see what we're able to all build together with this. So I'll stop here and now open up for questions. I know we're a little bit late, so but I hope this was worthwhile for you guys. Let's Madeline, let's switch over, and whoever, like, I think everybody's, there's no need for muting, right? Like everybody can talk. Yeah. Perfect. So whoever's got questions, just jump in and start asking away. Let's see. I got Dongming question. How about company's internal data? We can't upload for the data process. So this is a really cool thing here that's worth pointing out, is if you edit the GPT, so they have announced a feature, an enterprise tier, where you can do this, all of this, and it's very easy to sign up now for it, by the way. And you can basically you don't have to worry about your data being, basically they have explicit privacy policy saying that your data, internal data, if you load into knowledge, will not be used for training. So that kind of puts that question to rest. There's another really cool thing here now. They've added this additional settings. Of course, I have it a little buried here, but you can uncheck this. It says use conversation data in your GPT to improve our models. So you can make it more private specifically for this GPT as well. This is all available to Plus subscribers, of course. How can they be done or built? Beatrice, I think you asked that earlier today, but any other questions, guys? Anybody have any questions? about this experience? Has anybody tried to build a GPT so far? Show of quick hands. Anyone? Awesome. All right, great.
I just wanted to say thank you, Rami. By the way, it's great to hear you again.
Yeah,
I have a comment, though, not a question.
yeah,
First, again, thanks. This was great. That was a huge leap forward, I say, because a lot of people haven't tried it yet, I guess. So by November 9th, when they had the developer day. So we've been using it. It's super helpful. And I think it's going to be groundbreaking, especially for product managers. So I just wanted to say hi and it's great to see you and hopefully to catch up later.
awesome. Thank you, Magan. I really appreciate it. I'm glad to hear that you're already using it. Uh, so Taylor has got a question here. What are some other ways you're thinking about the upfront architecture of the GPT, inputs and outputs? That's a great point, actually. So they have announced, not available directly through this right now, but they have announced through the API that you're able to now also input images. So the GPT-4V, which is V for vision, is now available via API. So you're basically going to be able to take any photos of your empty fridge, that famous demo, your fridge with whatever is in it, and it'll be able to provide recommendations for nutrition. There's a whole bunch of other different use cases. The other cool thing is their text-to-speech feature. It's available through the mobile app, is now going to be available through API. And you're going to be able to also use Whisper, obviously, for a while now you've been able to use it, which is their speech to text functionality. So in a nutshell, you can build a conversational bot basically now using OpenAI's API. You're going to be able to, in your own app, be able to just talk to it, have it translated, have it pass the GPT, and then come back to the user as speech. And I was watching this cool walkthrough. This was not directly on in the keynote, but they did have a little dev day demo. And they had some custom voices. That was really cool. They had like a pirate demo, and the voice that they used was a pirate, which is pretty interesting to see. So I wouldn't be surprised in the not too distant future if you're able to customize the voices, so that you'll be able to have some unique voice interactions that are unique to your own brand as well. I would get ready for that. Any other questions? Awesome. Glad to hear, Michelle, you enjoyed it. If you ever have any questions, definitely don't hesitate to reach out. I'm very easy to reach on LinkedIn. Just drop me a note. Happy to chat about this stuff anytime.
Thank you so much, Rami. That was super interesting. I am already thinking about going back to the recording and digging in. I wanted to shout out Rami's course that is starting next Monday. You have 5 or 6 days to sign up. It's 2 hours of video content each week. He created it with John Haggerty, a VP of product at Highway AI. Along with those video lessons, you get weekly live mentor sessions where you're joining an industry expert discussing ideas, and you get templates, you get resources, you get assignments. The course is also going to be run async. If you don't want to join those live sessions, you could just come in for $299 and 8 hours of amazing video lessons. So it's incredible. Encourage you to join the course. I'll send around the discount for the course after this as well, along with the recording. Nitin, I hear you ask about the recording. You'll get that in an email after. I've just popped the link for the course in the chat as well. So I hope to see you in the course next Monday. I see some familiar faces here who are already signed up. So excited for that. Another massive thank you to you, Rami. Is there anyone who's got any final words or remarks before we hop off? All good. Thank you, everybody, for coming and spending half an hour with us. And I hope to see you in the course next week. Thank you, Rami.
Take care. It's a pleasure. Talk to you soon. Cheers.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.